channel again. So for today's video I'm going to do a tag, and it is the TTC, or trying to conceive, tag. A few of these questions I will have already answered in previous infertility videos, which I will link in the down bar if you've not seen them. So I will just go over those questions quickly, just for anyone who might be new to my channel, and the other ones I will obviously go into more detail. Question 1 is, how long have you been trying to conceive? And me and Andrew have been trying to conceive for 2 years now. 2 long years. Question 2 is, how many kids do you have, or how many kids do you want? And as someone that has gone through miscarriage, I find this question quite difficult to answer. The obvious answer is I have no children, because I don't, but I have had 3 miscarriages, and by saying I've got no children, I kind of feel like I am belittling that a little bit, or kind of erasing that time as if it didn't happen. And obviously they were 3 very precious lives for however long that was. Not long in my case, sadly, but it's always, you know, a life is a life. So that's really difficult. So cut a long story short, I have no children. I've had 3 pregnancies that haven't worked out. How many kids do I want is another difficult question with no straightforward answer. If I had 1, I would be happy with 1. I would love to have 1, and I would feel incredibly lucky to have had 1. In an ideal world, I would have 2. That has always been my dream, is to have 2 children. I'm an only child myself, and I would have loved a sibling. So 2 would be ideal, but if I was lucky enough to have 1, I don't think I'd really push the whole trying to conceive thing again to this extent. If I was lucky enough that it just happened, I would be absolutely ecstatic and over the moon to have a second child, but I don't think I would go through this kind of rigid TTC situation again, because it's extremely mentally and physically exhausting. Question 3 is, how old are you and your husband? And me and Andrew met in school. We were in the same school year. He is 27 and I am 26. Question 4 is, how long have you been married? And I find this question a little bit, I find the phrasing a little bit strange, to be honest. I know some people think you do need to be married, but I personally don't think you need to be married to be trying to conceive, or to be on any kind of fertility journey. As it happens, we are married. We've been married 2.5 years. It will be 3 years this summer, and we have been together 10.5 years. It will be 11 years this summer. Question 5 is, what are some crazy things you do whilst trying to conceive? And I guess it is what you define as crazy, because what I would have looked back at 2 years ago and thought was crazy is probably entirely different to what I think now. Everything I've tried seems completely normal to me now, but to a normal person it probably seems quite extreme. The most kind of out there thing we've tried was probably the pre-pregnancy reflexology. Although I loved it, I thought it was amazing. I don't know to what extent it worked for us, although it definitely seemed to help me relax and ovulate more regularly. I have stopped it now purely because of the cost. We are trying to save money because we are moving house, as you know, and £40 a week for an hour's session, it's just a bit steep, and I can't really justify it. Not without any scientific research to kind of really back it up and say this is definitely going to work. I enjoyed it and I liked it, but it was a luxury. So that was probably the most unusual thing we've tried, but I think the whole of trying to conceive is a bit crazy, to be honest. OPKs, for example, I don't think it's particularly out there, I don't think it's particularly crazy or unusual, but it does turn you a little bit crazy using OPKs. It can become so addictive and so obsessive that I think it does turn you a little bit crazy. I know that I have been hooked on OPKs before, which is completely stupid anyway, because they don't really work for me because I've got PCOS. I don't actually find them overly helpful, but there is something strangely addictive about doing an OPK. Basically, the whole of trying to conceive is just a big crazy whirlwind, and it's all a bit weird, isn't it? Question 6 is, does your husband know all about the TTC cycle? And the answer to that would definitely be yes. He's had no choice really but to learn about it. It's been a long journey for us, and yeah, he hasn't really had a choice. We've had so many hospital appointments, so many consultant appointments, that he's had to learn it really. He hasn't really had a choice whether he likes to or not. He probably knows far more than he would ever want to. I saw this really funny meme the other day when I was googling Clomid memes, and I've got to show you it. Wait a second. Can you see that? It says, wife is getting her blood drawn with pointy needles, and I'm just sitting here masturbating. I mean, it's true. Question 7 is, have you been diagnosed with any sort of infertility? And the answer is sadly yes. As I've mentioned, I've got polycystic ovaries, and that has been the main contender in our inability to conceive so far. Yeah, that's all there is to it really. It gives me really irregular cycles. There can be anything from 34 days, which is still significantly longer than the average, up to 92 days, which has been my longest cycle. So the chances of us being able to conceive are reduced significantly inside a 1 year period, which is the average length it takes a couple to conceive. Question 8 is, what keeps you busy during the 2-week wait? And because I have these irregular cycles, it's actually quite rare for me to know categorically when I've ovulated, and therefore it's really rare that I get a proper 2-week wait. More often than not, it's about an 8-week wait. Who knows when I've ovulated, if I've ovulated? Your guess is as good as mine. So it's kind of hard to say what keeps me busy in the 2-week wait because I never truly know if I'm in it. In a way, I think it's a good thing because it stops me obsessively symptom spot quite as much as maybe I would if I'd known I'd ovulated for sure, and I was like, every twinge or every like ache I'd be thinking, oh, is this it? So in that sense it's good, but it also means that I never really know where I am. So if I do get some symptoms, I never know why. I never know if it could be pregnancy related or if it could be, you know, completely irrelevant, or ovulation or anything like that. So it's kind of a blessing and a curse, but I don't really have any tips for keeping busy in the 2-week wait because I'm never in it. Question 9 is, what day do you normally ovulate? And again, feel like I'm repeating myself here, my cycles are incredibly irregular, so I never really know. I'd say my average cycle is probably 45 to 50 days, which would mean I normally ovulate around CD 35, 36, as opposed to 14 for the average woman. So on average I would say it was that, but really it could be any time. Your guess is as good as mine. I've ovulated on like cycle day 80 before, so who the devil knows. Question 10 is, what gender are you hoping for? And I honestly could not give a crap. I will literally take whatever I can get. When I was younger, before I knew the whole issues I would experience with this, I would have categorically said to you in answer to this question, I want a girl. That's all I wanted. If I'd have got a boy, I would have been like, oh, I don't want a boy. But 2 years on, I will literally take whatever I can get. I could not care less what gender. If I was lucky enough to have a baby, gender would not matter in the slightest to me at all. You know, in a dream world, if I was lucky enough to have 2, I would love to have one of each. I would love to have the experience of raising a girl and raising a boy, because it's completely different relationships. Like when I look at the relationship I have with my mum, that is so different from the relationship Andrew has with his parents. Me and my mum are ridiculously close, like very, very, very close. And I always thought I would love to have that relationship with a daughter of my own. And then at the same time, I look at the relationship Andrew has with his parents, and I just kind of love the bond between a mother and a son, and also watching Andrew and his dad. They're like two peas in a pod, and I think that's really cute. But yeah, to cut a long story short, I wouldn't care. I would be absolutely over the moon. I have a zero preference, and I have names picked out for both genders, so all bases are covered. Question 11 is, how many pregnancy books do you own? And I actually own none. I don't know if pregnancy books are things people really buy anymore. I think most people just tend to look online, but correct me if I'm wrong. I watch a lot of pregnancy vloggers and mummy vloggers, and I read a lot of pregnancy blogs and mummy blogs. I love all of those. It's a little bit bittersweet because I really, really enjoy watching them, and I follow them all, like all the mummy bloggers. I follow them all. I look at their lives and I think, oh, you are living the dream. But at the same time, it's a little bit like torture. It just makes it so painfully obvious that I don't have what they have. So in the beginning, when I started trying to conceive, I was a lot more kind of interested in watching the pregnancy videos and thinking like, oh, that'll be me soon, and you know, that'll be what I'll be going through. And less and less now I will watch those videos because they can make me feel quite down and quite sad. I love watching other infertility vloggers. To name a few I'm really loving at the moment, I really like It's Jules Furnace, I really like It's and I really like It's Kelsey's Life. So yeah, I definitely try and focus a lot more on watching vloggers and bloggers who are either in a similar situation to mine or have been in a similar situation to mine, just because it takes away the I don't want to say disappointment, I can't think how to phrase it. It's just quite difficult to watch people having what you want so much. I wish it wasn't. I wish I could watch them and be like, oh, that's amazing, one day that'll be me. But I'm a bit of a negative Nora, so I sit and watch and think, oh, that's never going to be me, and then sob into my pillow. Question 12 is, how many HPTs or pregnancy tests do you go through in a cycle? And the answer is generally 0. As I've explained before, I find a negative test very difficult. I find it like a dagger in my chest, and I will avoid it at all costs if I can. I can genuinely probably count on one hand the amount of times I've actually bothered to take a pregnancy test just because it is horrendous. I hate seeing that negative, and then you get in that thing where you're like convincing yourself maybe it's too early and you just can't see anything yet, or you're like staring at it like this and squinting and being like, oh, maybe I can see something, and you're like inverting it and shining weird lights on it in the hope that something's going to show up, and you know, it doesn't tend to do that. So I find it extremely depressing and try and avoid it. Interestingly though, and let me know what you think about this idea, when I start Clomid, when my period finally arrives, I am considering, I don't know if I'm going to regret saying this, let me know what you think, I'm considering doing live pregnancy tests. I watch some people's videos and I find it fascinating, and I find it amazing when someone gets a positive result. It's beautiful if they've waited so long and seeing their reaction. I love that, but I also find it quite what's the word? I'm so bad at this today. I find it quite relatable. Is that the word? That's the word I think I'm after. Relatable. And you can see their kind of raw emotion and feeling about that. So I am considering, when I start Clomid, when I get my period, I will take that. I should know when I've ovulated, and then I'm considering 14 days after I've ovulated doing a live pregnancy test video, and I will do that every month if people like it. Obviously it could be quite a depressing video because I don't do pregnancy tests for that reason, but I want this channel to be as real and honest as it can be, and you know, some months I'll find it incredibly difficult when I see that negative, and some months I'll know it was going to be like that anyway and I'll dust it off and start a new cycle. But I really want this channel to be mainly focusing on infertility and miscarriage, and you know, that's real life. And it'd be amazing as well one day when hopefully I have had a positive pregnancy test and I'm having a healthy pregnancy, or I've got my baby, I'll look back on them videos and it'll all seem so worthwhile. And having, you know, hopefully when one day I do get a positive pregnancy test, having that on camera and maybe one day being able to show that to my child and show them how much they were wanted for so long, I think that would be amazing. So let me know if you want me to do that. If you don't, let me know as well, nicely, but let me know. I'd be interested to hear what people's thoughts are on that. It's a funny one. Question 13 is, what have you bought for your pregnancy or baby already? This is one I find very difficult to answer, and I actually wrote a really in-depth blog post on this, which I will link below, because I think this will explain it a lot better than I can explain it now. But when I first started trying to conceive, I was so excited about the thought of, you know, maybe I'll be pregnant soon and, you know, one day I'm gonna have a baby, and I would be like looking on sales at baby stuff, and I bought quite a few things. It started off in the beginning where I'd see like some like unisex baby clothes, and I'd think, well, I'm gonna have a baby and it's unisex, so it's fine. So I'd like order a few bits in the sale. But as the months went on and I wasn't getting pregnant, I kind of got addicted to buying things, and for a short period of time it made me feel better when it wasn't happening, because I felt like I was constantly reminding myself, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen, you will get your baby, you've got all this stuff, you will get your baby. And it escalated to not buying gender neutral things and just buying anything I liked the look of. Always in the sale, that was the only thing I ever stuck by. I don't think I've ever bought anything full price, but I got quite the collection, and I used to like, this sounds so sad, I feel really embarrassed admitting this, but again, I think it's like an important part of the whole infertility journey, and again, I'd be interested to know if any of you in a similar position have done this, or if it's just me. But I used to put it all in boxes, and then when I was having a really bad day and feeling shit, I would take it all out, look at it, fold it back up and put it back in its boxes, like so tidy, and it made me feel better for a little while. Since having my miscarriages, I have not looked at any of that stuff. I don't know what happened, but a switch completely flicked and I can't bear to look at it. It's all kind of packed in boxes under our wardrobes, and I just pretend it's not there. And as I am moving house in 2 days, I really need to pack it all, and it's kind of weighing very heavy on my mind. I feel like it's going to bring a lot of emotions to the forefront, and I'm really nervous about it, to be honest. So I hope that one day, when I have a healthy pregnancy or when I've had my baby, I can do you the world's biggest baby haul, because I have a lot of stuff, and it sounds weird. Again, please read the blog post. I would really love it if you would read the blog post, because I think I have explained it a lot better in there. But it's come to be like a bit, it feels like a dirty little secret, like these boxes under the wardrobe that until I wrote this blog post no one really knew about. When myself and Andrew first started trying to conceive 2 years ago now, I was constantly dreaming about how I would tell him when I found out I was pregnant, and I bought this book, which again I will show you one day, called, I think it was called like Daddy and Me or something, and it had a baby squirrel and a daddy squirrel on the front, and as you know, me and Andrew are like weirdly into squirrels, and I bought that book and I thought that would be how I would tell him I was pregnant. That book has been flat under my mattress for 2 years now, and I've never taken it out. Even when I found out I was pregnant the first time, it was such a shock that it didn't cross my mind for a second to give him that book. And then obviously I miscarried, and then I've had 2 subsequent miscarriages since then, and I've always just been too scared to give it to him now. So one day I do want to give him that book, but the circumstances will be so different. I think that will be when we've had a baby, and that breaks my heart because I spent so long being like, how would I tell him, and you know, finding that book, I knew I wanted that kind of thing, and it really does break my heart that I'm never going to get that way to tell him that I always wanted, and infertility and miscarriage take that away from you, and I think it's really cruel that it takes that excitement away from you. So yeah, they're what I've bought. You might think that's really weird. I hope you understand, and if you do the same, please let me know so I don't feel really weird. So that is all the questions. Next time you see me, I don't think I will have this background anymore. We will be in the new house. Woo! Oh my god, it's taken long enough. So yeah, say goodbye to this background, say goodbye to this house, and I will see you all in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye guys.